What is happening out there, Roto Scouts basketball fans? Good to see you, gang. Been a couple of days since we've been in front of the mic, in front of all you guys. Hopefully everybody's had a good start to your week, good weekends, etc., etc. I am, bear with me one moment as we get started here. I'm actually just rerunning the Sims. As you can see, for some reason, the top few guys on both sites just cut off there. Not the top guys, quite literally the very bottom of the board. But those like 6 or 7 guys up at the top in orange on this sim did not run through correctly. Each maybe a couple of shares, but since it's only a 2-game slate, I'm just going to dive in real quick and rerun that sim. I've got it running on DraftKings already. I just got to kick it off real quick for FanDuel. So just bear with me one sec while I get this reconfigured. Minor changes, for what we have here. And you can kind of go by if you're building lineups right now. Feel free to go by what's sitting in front of you there. Those are not incorrect, but they're slightly askew, just given a few shares that probably in a 2-gamer would have gone to some of these guys. So let me get that corrected. Popping the correct FanDuel ownership back across. Thinking this through out loud as I do it. Copy paste that into the template. Lots gone on since last time we spoke, you guys. I don't know if anybody's... I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but New Jersey's been invaded by UFOs. Haven't seen one yet, but they're apparently out there. Google casually confirmed yesterday that we live in a multiverse, which is kind of cool. They released a tech readout on their new quantum chip called Willow, which in and of itself was kind of amazing. It solved a problem in 5 minutes that would take our current leading supercomputers more than, 16 quintillion years, more than the current age of the universe for those to have solved it. It solved it in under 5 minutes. So get out of your Bitcoin and crypto positions now because they're dead. Change any encryption that you have. Don't protect any secrets anymore. But, within that, they basically were talking about the, how quantum works. And they said, they just casually dropped in a line, which basically confirms the theory that we exist in multiple universes. Just like, kind of figured that was correct. But for them to just casually drop it into a tech document about their quantum chip is pretty astounding. So that's fun. Anyway, let me kick this FanDuel sim off. Let me take a sip of coffee. DraftKings rerun already looks complete, so we'll start talking about that in just a second as the FanDuel one catches up. Just make sure I got this set up. A little bit of a late start, I know. And a late start on a late start. Always good. But just a 2-gamer. NBA Cup Day. We should be able to fly through. Unfortunately, the first matchup not probably going to be quite the matchup we might have gotten otherwise. Now that Franz is also out of the picture for Orlando. But should still be a good NBA Cup night. A couple of, at worst, decent games. All right, that one's running. Grab this. Download that. Hopefully everybody actually came through. This goes here. So many clicks. I should have noticed it here when this came up short, and I didn't. Yeah, now that's the full pool. All of that amounted to we got like 5 shares of AJ Green and none of any of those other guys. Fair. Minor impact across the slate. Let's resort that, and we'll start talking at least up at the top. Cole Anthony, looking like a major piece on both sides. I'm glad to see him up there. That makes some sense. Caruso, SGA, Lou Dort, Giannis. All right, we're looking okay. This is a little outlier across sites with Jonathan Isaac in just 17 minutes on FanDuel. We'll take a look at that. All right, FanDuel's running. That's saved there. Let's talk game environments. Let's talk ins and outs. Not many ins and outs to worry about tonight, which is good because the slate's coming up in just a little bit. 5:39 for a 7 o'clock start. We've got game 1 is Orlando at Milwaukee. Bucks are favored by 7.5 in a home game. Again, no Franz Wagner now for Orlando. Just a major, major hit to their value. That's what's partially creating the Anthony value there and the value around some of the other Magic. But a diminished game, which in normal circumstances would have been a really compelling first game. 215-point total, not ideal, but we've only got 2 games to choose from, so we're obviously going there, and we're going there quite a bit. Dallas at OKC, the class of the night, and this one, really good game lined up there. Oh, fuck, it is the Yankees. I was just laughing in chat with Woody. We were saying that it was ridiculous that somebody was offering Max Fried a 7-year deal, and I say, yeah, it probably confirms that it's going to be the Yankees, and it just popped up. It's the Yankees. Jesus Christ, that's awful. 30-year-old injury-prone, non-strikeout oriented ground baller. 7 years. Great plan. And an eye roll emoji. That's what I think of that. Brian Cashman in emergency plan B mode is not ideal for New York Yankees this season. Anyway, they haven't paid him yet, okay? But 7 years is absurd. He's 30. He's going to be pitching this season. I don't know if he's going to turn 31 before this season. Let's see. But he threw 174 innings this year. That was the second time in his entire career he's ever cracked 170 innings. He got 185 as his career high. And yeah, he's 30 years, 10 months, and 22 days. So he'll be pitching this year as a 31-year-old. So you're going to sign this guy who has never pitched more than 185 and a third innings. In every other season was 174, then 165 and 2/3 twice, and then every other season was sub 100 innings. He's not a strikeout pitcher. He's a ground ball-oriented pitcher. He's a lefty ground baller, which I think is good. If they were giving him 3 or 4 years, I'm in. I thought that was a good signing at 3 or 4 years. 7 years for this guy is absurd. Makes no goddamn sense. He's a good pitcher, don't get me wrong. I like Max Fried. But locking him in on a 7-year deal? He's going to pitch for us till he's 38? No, I don't think so. Steven's asking if the Yanks have the goods to go for Crochet. They're in the rumors. And like if they include like a Spencer Jones or something like that, then maybe. But I don't see it. I don't think there are many other teams out there with better pools of talent as far as making a deal. So I don't see it. I assume in the couple minutes I've been talking about that the FanDuel sim is done. Yes, it is. Let's grab that. So those are our game environments. What's up, Doug? Doug Geely's here. A-Bar. T. McP loves some Max Fried. I do think that Max is a good pitcher, but he's rarely healthy. Getting a lefty ground baller is ideal for Yankee Stadium. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to like it, but it should be a 3 or 4 year signing. Take him from 31 to 36, and then if he's been good for you and still has a lot left in the tank, give him a 2 or 3 year deal then. Don't sign him till he's 38, 39 years old. It's crazy. Yeah, that's the Braves have taken a few of those lately, Kay, but you guys are fortunate to have such a strong farm system that you just get new waves of these home developed players every couple of years to root for. You still got a few of them there and a bunch of good young pitchers, so you guys will be all right. Stephen Lake's all the go wheat you can eat for Stephen Leibowitz. Am I returning to my mother planet? If they come and get me. I don't know. That's an issue. Like, I mean, it's not an issue, but like it's something worth thinking about. Like if you were driving down the highway and they stopped and landed and they were like, hey, we're recruiting. We want to bring a bunch of tourists back with us and come check out the spaceship. Close Encounters kind of scenario. Would you go? I don't see how you could turn it down. I'd like the opportunity, of course, to like, give me a day. Let me go say goodbye. Am I coming back? Not like a Cocoon scenario. I'd rather like a tourist, like go visit, bring me back. It'll be a couple days. That kind of a thing. Cocoon, like they went off and lived there. The crazy thing about that is like when they, in that movie Cocoon, they're in like their 50s and 60s. It's like, oh my God, they're too old to function on Earth. They've got to go to a different planet. It's like, Wilford Brimley was like 55 in that movie. Granted, he looks like 85, but anyway, let's talk slate. So, insies, outsies, Giannis probable, Marjon Beauchamp probable, Chris Middleton probable. Questionables, Jonathan Isaac, Najee Marshall, and PJ Washington. 3 impactful players, for sure, more so for Dallas. But taking Isaac off the board would obviously create a little bit of a void in Orlando. Out, Paolo Banchero, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, Maxi Kleba, Ousmane Deng, Adam Flagler, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen with a Y Williams remain out. And that's it. So like I said, not a lot to keep tabs on. Little Twitter handle here and make sure that there's no news breaking in the last couple of minutes. Wednesday. Middleton available, Giannis available. Both confirmed. And the Magic are starting Suggs, Caldwell, Pope, De Silva, Carter, and Batadze. Which is essentially... I could maybe give De Silva another like 2 or 3 minutes off of that. I just kind of have it nebulous through that group of everybody after Goga, WCJ, KCP, and Jalen. I got like 24 going to Anthony Black, 24 going to Cole Anthony, 17s for Mo and Isaac. I could see Mo playing more minutes for sure. Might play with that one a little bit, but this is not an unexpected scenario, and I think it's correct to just give the spread of minutes there. So let's dive in. Top owned guy is Cole Anthony, 94.6% on the DraftKings slate. Again, that, as we've always talked about, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have him in 94% of your lineups, but he is a critical piece of value today. Even in 24 minutes, there's a path for him to play significantly more than 24 minutes, depending on what Orlando is going to be doing. Overall for the season, in just 11 minutes a night across 23 games, we're getting a point per minute on FanDuel, 1.05 per minute on DraftKings. Was a 1.01 player last year, so you can reliably say about a point per minute. I've got him slightly over that, 25 and change in 24 minutes on both sites. I think that's reasonable. Decent assist rate to help pad stats in addition to any scoring that he might do. It's just a good price fit, good position fit, and it's a super short slate, so he's just picking up all the value shares. 83% exposed ahead of the field on FanDuel, 94% exposed ahead of the field on DraftKings. Going to be one of the more highly owned players on the entire slate on both sites, though. Yeah, third most popular guy and over 50% on DraftKings. And I'm sure it's the same on FanDuel. I think it's in the 60s, actually, on FanDuel. Where'd he go? He slipped a little bit on FanDuel, actually. That's interesting. Did they cut some minutes on him or something? Did they just update? No. Huh. Yeah, they got him. So they cut a couple minutes off of him. He was still dominating on DraftKings for the 42, but at 48, if he loses 2 or 3 minutes, it's going to impact his ownership a little bit, and that looks like what they did with the public ownership. Not necessarily what this ran against, though. Yeah, he came down by about 15 points off of that from where they had him previously. So we were way ahead of the field. I'm probably going to duck maybe a minute or 2 off of him if I move things around a little bit for Orlando. So he'll probably come down a bit in FanDuel value. He'll retain a lot of the DraftKings value even with the reduction of 2 minutes, and he could easily play those minutes anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But you'll see a little minor shave It's going to keep him probably around a 6 value score on DraftKings, though, so he's just plug and play easily on DraftKings. And with him in the 30% range or higher on FanDuel, I would say if you're in the 50-60% range over there after a reduction, you're probably fine. Caruso coming up a little bit below the field on FanDuel, 40%. Not a great value fit. Small forward only, sub 5 value score for your 4,800, just 22 minutes projected. But we did get a big chunk of them, but we're well below the field there. On DraftKings, he's 3,700. That's a major price difference. He also picks up shooting guard eligibility over there in addition to small forward. 5.58 value score where we're looking for 5.5. That's a dynamite piece. 84% exposed on the DraftKings slate, above the field over there as well. Played 24-1 and put up 24.9. That's basically in who he is, kind of a game for Alex Caruso. Around a point per minute is basically what he's put up this year. 0.98 FanDuel, 0.90 DraftKings, a little bit of a lower-end producer on the DraftKings slate, just on the nature of how he scores his fantasy points, but that creates this big salary difference. So I think he's an asset on DraftKings. You can go there like crazy on the DK slate. Again, don't necessarily need to be at 84, but a 2-game slate, you're just going to have a ton of these guys. And then somebody that everybody actually wants to play. 80% of SGA on FanDuel, 75% of SGA on DraftKings. That looks pretty good next to a chunk of 57% Giannis, and on FanDuel, 40% Giannis. So essentially, you're getting double pay-ups around all the value on both sites. I'm curious, given that Luka's at 22 and 32, if any of these have all three. I would be surprised. There's not that much value. On FanDuel, it looks basically impossible. On DraftKings, given 3 sub 3s, like if I did 1, 2, 3, I can get both of those still. All right, shooting guard, small forward. I can get that, I think. That's 44-7, and I've got 6 guys. So, no. Can't get 3 more guys. We're getting a lot of all 3 of the major stars on this slate. Luka, the lowest owned guy out of the group, 22% on FanDuel, a little bit below the field for 11.8 on the FanDuel slate, point guard only. 32% on DraftKings is essentially level with the field, but we are getting more Giannis, and we're getting more a little bit more Giannis than the field. We're getting well over on SGA on both sites, and then a little below the field on both Giannis and Luka on the FanDuel slate, while still having a lot of both. Some of that's probably getting boxed out just by value plays like Jalen Williams is coming up a ton on FanDuel. He's been a 1.37 per minute player this season on FanDuel. 1.35 on DraftKings. We got him a lot on DK, but below the field at 31%. Again, 2-gamer, you're just going to have a ton of everybody. He looks like one of the top-end pieces, and it wouldn't be completely outrageous to suggest that he could outscore any of the big stars and could honestly be likely to outscore one of them. Not that he's at that level, but if one of them plays down a little bit, if Milwaukee's lighting up the diminished Orlando team and Giannis misses 2-3 minutes that he's projected for, those could even out very, very quickly. So I think that's getting him into a fair share of lineups. Just been very good this year, and the price is not crazy compared to the everybody else that puts up that kind of a rate. What are we going to say? Greater than 1.25? Those are the guys who give you more than 1.25 per minute on this slate. One of them's Hartenstein, who's a center. We got him 30% plus on both sites. Looks great. 3 of them are priced at 10, upper 10s or 11, and upper 11s on FanDuel, into the 11s on DraftKings. One of them's Daniel Gafford, who's a reasonable piece, 24% a better option on DraftKings for 4,900 over there. That's a great value buy. But as far as guys with realistic upside minutes, it's Jalen all day among anybody who puts up any kind of big rate. 89 here, 87 there. That's a major offset in price from some of these others. So it's an interesting option on a short slate. Lou Dort, I skipped over him. We got 70% Lou Dort on FanDuel, just a movable piece, obviously. 0.81 per minute on 13% usage this year, 0.73 last year on 15% usage. He's a mix and match guy on most slates, but he can definitely give you enough on this one. He's got fairly secure minutes, 31 and change, 29 average for the season, 31.3 last time out. Did get us near a fantasy point per minute, 30.5 FanDuel points. He's not inept out there. He's just an underperformer as far as he's not inclined to score. He's a guy who's a collector of fantasy points in a way. So never the most exciting guy to get, but he's just a good fit today, I think. And he's landing in a ton of lineups across sites. We're basically level with the field on FanDuel. You can build a position above or below on Lou Dort and just move pieces around. If you're moving shares from here to there at small forward, perfectly fine. And you could level those two off and get back to the field on Caruso and undercut Dort instead if that was your chosen position. Sims are advising us the other way, and you're getting a better value score at the position out of Lou Dort. But it's a position that you could move around. Goga for Steven out there, 54% exposed on DraftKings and above the field. I think that jibes with what you were saying, buddy. K Sizzle says, on a 2-game slate, can we talk some NFL best ball on DK? How are your teams looking? I only had 3 teams out of 40 that made the next round. I don't play best ball. So my teams are looking great because they don't exist. I do play season long. I actually had, I popped it in free to the Yanks. 8 years. 8. Largest deal in history for a left-handed pitcher. 8 years, $218 million. Congratulations, Max Fried. Brian Cashman, you're a sucker. Okay, gonna let that sink in for a minute. Again, I love Max Fried as a pitcher. I think he's excellent for what he is. But to give that kind of a contract to a guy who's not a strikeout pitcher, who is injury prone going into his age 31 season. I know we're desperate because we blew the Soto contract. Because some asshole kicked his family out of the stadium, it seems like. But come on. We're just going to throw 8 years. Like, that'll be a good contract for 3 years. Max Fried will be great for the Yankees for 3 years, if he's healthy. You do not give a 31-year-old lefty who's injury prone an 8-year deal. Wow. All right. Anyway, that was a fun ride over the last half hour since Woody mentioned the 7-year rumor up through the Yankees signing him for 8. Isaac is out. All right. Thanks, Power. So De Silva was already going to get a little bit of a nudge. That probably keeps Cole Anthony's minutes secure at 24 then. I'm probably not going to end up reducing those just because I've got these 17 to move around now. Probably get Mo a couple more in that. He'd be the most interesting guy from that group given his 1.22 per minute, 1.24 on DraftKings. He's a 1.07 player last year. We've seen him spike upside games even in 17 minutes. The other day he put up a 30.7. But when he plays a few additional minutes, he can get interesting in an awful hurry for 5,200 center power forward. Center only over here. So I do suspect he'll pick up some of those minutes. Again, De Silva is potentially, he was starting, right? Yeah. So De Silva, I might give a couple additional. What's he been playing, though, when he starts? I'll check it out. Again, I do think that, my typical go-to in this situation would be Mo. Yeah, like De Silva didn't close at all the other day. Didn't start 2 games ago. Same 22. So he's really not getting much fourth quarter run when he starts. So he might pick up, again, he'll probably pick up a couple of minutes from where I started him, but it won't be crazy. It'll get him on the board a little bit more. We had 10% on FanDuel. We had 2% on DraftKings. He's a minimal projected guy. He had a very, very low rate, 0.65 per minute, 0.67 per minute. So there's really not much on the bone there. Again, this is where I would turn. Caleb Houston will probably pick up a couple of minutes just as the scrap minutes get distributed around. Same thing for like Jett Howard, Anthony Black. No, Black will probably stay the same. And it's only 17 minutes, so that's basically the end of that. But watch Mo. Mo would be the guy. If he jumps by, 3-ish, 4-ish points, he'll get interesting against that salary. So definitely one to watch. Just continuing on. I know we're kind of going positionless here. Just kind of going through it since there's only 2 games on the slate. Suggs looking like a piece, 63% below the field, but that's a major piece on FanDuel at 63. He's been playing at 1.03 and presumably going to have to do even more for this team tonight. 5.16 on the value scale on FanDuel. A little bit worse as far as a value on DraftKings. He's 73 on DK, point guard only. On FanDuel, 72, multi-position eligible. So we got him a lot less on DraftKings, but we still got nearly 30% just below the field as a reasonably big undercut there. So an interesting piece at 73. I like him better on FanDuel for sure, but you could take a little bit more than this with the expectation that his usage will be up even further, just on a lack of guys who will be there to score. Cason Wallace, mix and match guy at 25. We got him 4,700 at 2.6%. Hard undercut to the field, but that puts the field probably 10-ish at most. With the field at 24% on DraftKings is more interesting. He's only 39 over there, multi-position at both guard spots. Just a 0.74 per minute guy, but we're going to have to embrace multiple low-end per minute performers on this slate. It's just the way it's shaped. There's only so many options at every position, and there are a number of those types in these games. Derek Lively and Bobby Portis, both more interesting as far as per minute performers. We got a nice big chunk of Bobby Portis over here, 35% on FanDuel, 18% on DraftKings. Just an is who he is spot. I've got him at 24 minutes. He averages just about that, 23.8. When he goes out and plays more, he puts up fantasy points in a hurry, though. 40.5 in 31.5 minutes the other day. We've all been there, I'm sure, with Bobby Portis at this point. Power forward and center eligibility for a fair price on both sites. On a 2-gamer, he could fly a little bit under the radar. It's not like he's sneaky. This is with the field, so the field's gonna be there. But particularly on DraftKings, where the field seems like they're a little bit less, 15, 20% somewhere, that's a position you could maybe build up a little bit. Portis is just an interesting enough per minute guy, and since you lose a piece, it's a different price. Yeah, it's not a direct compare with Isaac coming out. There will be more shares to spread in Bobby Portis and Derek Lively's direction, though, given the shares of Isaac that we were getting. Less so on DraftKings at 17, where he comes off the board. But he was taking up a big chunk of the FanDuel shares, so that's going to spread out a good amount of ownership. Some of it probably goes to Portis. Some of it goes to Lively. 5,500 center only is not ideal for him on the FanDuel slate. But among centers, we've got Goga to deal with. It's like our center-only guys, we're definitely going to want some Goga, but we got him less than the field. We're going to want a fair amount of Hartenstein. And then everybody else just coming up like onesie-twosies. But you can easily move some of this Wendell Carter into some Derek Lively. And we're getting more Carter, but kind of the sim telling us like, hey, you don't necessarily want to be with the field, even though he's a good value score. Undercut the field a little bit. So if you're doing that already, if you knock it down to like 20 instead of 27 and you sink those into more Derek Lively, maybe more Danny Gafford, those are reasonable options. Clay, 12% undercut to the field on FanDuel, 16% a more gentle undercut to the field on DraftKings. On a short slate, I could see it. He's only 46 on DK, 47 on FanDuel. Just 0.79 per minute FanDuel, 0.83 per minute on DraftKings, 52% true shooting, pretty empty stat line, shooting 36.6% on 7 and almost 8 threes a game. If he sinks a couple of those tonight, the value immediately shoots up. It's just you're taking a kind of washed Clay against a very, very good Oklahoma defense. I don't love it, but he is on the board there. I wouldn't mind a few additional shares, maybe level it back around the field over here, but I'm also fine being below. On DraftKings, I do think there's room to get back to about the field, maybe 20-ish%, and that's fine. KCP, starters minutes, 36%, but an undercut to the field on FanDuel, 16%. More gentle undercut to the field, same thing as Clay on DK. Another low-end per-minute performer, 0.64, but massive security of minutes for KCP. And if he has one of those games where he comes up with his usual defensive stats and collection of fantasy points and does a little bit more for scoring, which he could, they're going to need somebody to step up a little bit. We're talking about just a 12.6, 11.9% usage guy over the last 2 years, though. He is not a scorer. He is not a shooter. But there is expectation for a little bit of a float for everybody with Orlando now. So I could see him being a little bit better than that. We're getting plenty on FanDuel, and if that means I'm below the field but still have 35% KCP in my pocket, it's kind of so be it for me. I think I'd rather just get shares up here. But that is another guy who we might see some of those different positioning but similar price. We might see some of these massive set of Isaac shares just flow directly to that $4,400 KCP price and then just position things differently at the forward spots. If it wasn't such an effort, I would rerun it again. But coming up on a little after 6, I'm going to get us out of here in the next couple of minutes so that I can go update everything and keep the site fresh and everybody can build accurate lineups. Let's look through. We do still have some more garbage guys to talk about down toward the bottom because, again, 2-game slate. Gary Trent, mix and match piece, 11% with the field on FanDuel. Same deal on DraftKings, 12% with the field, 3,800. He's a movable piece on this slate. You can get more Gary Trent. You can get less Gary Trent. He's very unlikely to do much of anything to burn you or completely win you this slate. He's more than capable of going out and putting up kind of a low-end performance, but even with that, for the low cost on such a short slate, there's a scarcity of options that would necessarily outperform him. So any of these guys, you're worry about like a low-end performance from a 0.60 guy, a 0.64 guy like KCP is so reduced on a slate like this because those are the guys that are going to be competing with one another. Right, so it's unlikely, even if Gary Trent does go out and gives me a 0.55 tonight, it's unlikely that I'm going to get 1.1 out of KCP as the direct competitor for those shares. So either guy is perfectly fine, and you're not that worried about the downside. You're just filling the spot for the price with these guys today. PJ just 15% on FanDuel. A little surprised by that, but the price is up at $7,000 comparative to a lot of guys we have on this slate. Again, though, we did have a ton of shares at forward eligibility going into this cheapo Jonathan Isaac play on a points per minute sense, so we would probably see an uptick in shares. Maybe it gets to like 18, 20, but still below the field on PJ on FanDuel. A good per-minute performer on a slate that's short on per-minute performers for the mid-range price. We're getting more of them on DraftKings is 11, actually less of them overall, but closer to the field. 11%, a little closer to the field there. Again, a little bit more is perfectly acceptable of PJ. He's good enough, and there's a security of minutes there. Black, 43% on FanDuel already, just 10% on DraftKings. Very different slates across sites for the two-gamer. Point guard, shooting guard for 43, 4,200 point guard, shooting guard on FanDuel. This had just a bigger impact overall. He's been playing at 0.83 per minute this season. He was a 0.63 player on the FanDuel scale last year. I think I'd rather be in this neighborhood if I could choose, like if I could play something from here and something from the FanDuel slate in one like universal lineup. I think I would choose to play this version of Anthony Black more than the FanDuel version, even though we got him much more over here. That's a little below the field. That is a spot I would maybe consider taking even further of an undercut and saying, all right, give me 35%. Give me 38%. Just give me a few more shares to play with and move around across my 150 with him. But he's, again, definitely going to be fine. Plenty of minutes for the money. He's an okay enough per minute performer this year, and there should be opportunity. Isaiah Joe is not really coming up as relevant to the FanDuel slate, 0%. We did get him 9% on the DraftKings slate, though, 3,400. He's a movable piece over there, just like all the other guys we talked about from OKC. They've just got this collection of good defenders who are not great per-minute fantasy performers, not great scorers, but can pop decent games in secure minutes and relatively fair prices. Isaiah Joe, probably the lower end of those guys on minutes with just 18 minutes, and they play everybody a little bit. Like here's Aaron Wiggins from the same group at the same, almost exact same definition, who's actually a better per minute performer. 0.92 this year on both sites, 0.87 last year, but sees even fewer minutes. So there's just the diminishing returns on these guys. AJ Mitchell, we didn't get him at all, but he's projected for 15 minutes for 3,900, 3,100. He's not been a really good performer, but on a 2-game slate, could he pop for just enough that it swings that position in that direction? Absolutely. De Silva will go up a little bit, but again, he's another guy, and this is going to be now coming out of the lower of the 2 games in terms of game total. One of the lower end performers, but is going to get an uptick in minutes. He's starting today, but has only, again, been playing like 22 to 24 minutes even when he starts. So it's not going to be major, but you'll see a little more, probably level off with the field on FanDuel, maybe a little bit more up to like 5%-ish on DraftKings. Could succeed, but an unlikely piece. Dinwiddie, mix and match player. If you want to exchange a couple shares of Clay for a couple shares of Spencer, that's fine, but not advised. Dinwiddie, 0.78 per minute this season, is just kind of low end, less minutes at 23 overall than Clay. AJ Green didn't come up on FanDuel, but did. A couple shares on DraftKings. He's only 32 over there, both guard spots. Brolo, one of the more significant pieces down here that we didn't really get to. By far the most minutes out of everybody we didn't get to. Right, 33 minutes. Just 2% on FanDuel. He's center only, so he's just getting boxed out by some shares of some of those guys. But I wouldn't mind a few additional shares of Lopez. He's a good enough player. 0.87 per minute this year. That's down from 0.95 last year. But against a diminished Orlando team, I could see the upside a little bit. 5,500 on the DraftKings slate. Really didn't get much. But again, you can mix and match your way to a few shares to just differentiate. He is a good differentiation piece. Given, not that much of a value difference between him and, Wendell Carter there is. But like Derek Lively shares, that's not a huge difference. 2 fantasy points and, 0.2 of a point of value. So if you want to swap some of the Lively shares and grab a little bit of a position on Lopez, who's going to be owned by the field in the single digits, it's one of the few spots on the short slate that you can truly differentiate in the positive direction. Outlier shares of Najee Marshall on FanDuel. Glad we reran that one. So he was one of our rerun guys. Oh, no, I don't think he was, actually. Those guys were all in the... Yeah, that was these guys. We just got a lot of Najee. 22 minutes projected. He is still questionable as of the last time I checked. Somebody might be shouting at me in the chat that we did get him. Yeah, Justin Wendell will probably pick up a minute or two from where I had him. I already had him at 27. So I might kick him to 29, maybe 30. Has he played 30? Either way, Wendell was already coming up. So nothing's going to diminish Wendell. He did go 32 3 games ago. That's encouraging. I would say, yeah, he's going to jump by a little bit. If I didn't directly say it. We got him at 27 on FanDuel, 17 on DraftKings, but this is going to be a little bit more significant. Again, probably going to take him 3 additional minutes. Maybe there's a 4th one there, but again, I'm only moving 17 minutes around. But if we kick him at 0.93 with those minutes, you can see he's going to get 26-ish fantasy points, which makes him a little bit more relevant. We were already getting 17. It probably just levels him with where the field is now. And the field will probably get more. So I think relative to the field, you'll be in kind of a similar position because they'll go up, we'll go up, but we'll be a little further behind. They get up, we'll get up. It'll be anarchy. Name the movie. Max Fried. It's still rattling around in my head. So yeah, Wendell's an interesting one. And then just some of the other moving parts there. But I'm intrigued by Mo. Especially if people don't immediately dive on the Mo option. That kind of worked out a couple games ago. Michael Knack likes the Bobby Portis night. Coming up on 6:15. That's about it. We're at, again, Najee was coming up significant here. Just watch the status on DraftKings for 56. He's not coming up as a piece at all. 4,500, that's a just radically different play across sites. Is a decent enough per minute guy. 0.87 this year, 0.85 last year. Usage is up slightly this year to like league averages usage when he was a little bit below last year. Quentin Grimes, not much more than a mix and match guy across sites unless he steps into more minutes. I've got him at 18 today. If some of the others don't play, then he could definitely see a little bit more run and quickly get more interesting. The issue with him is he can disappear 17.4 minutes and put up 2.9 fantasy points the other day. He's a 0.82 per minute player on the season, but last year for a full season, 0.66 in plenty of run. So I don't love the Grimes play unless something changes. Caleb Houston is going to gain more minutes, but I don't really see him gaining all that much relevance because it's not like he's going to go from 6 to like 26. He's going to go from 6 to like 10, maybe, depending on what I got to move around. But that's about it, gang. Short slate. You guys want to see the ace-mine lineups real quick? I haven't actually looked at these. They'll be a little bit different. So just to get the shape of some of the successful lineups that ran through the sims that we've been talking about. So while we do have a lot of Giannis and SGA coming up in our lineups, the top three. Oh, no. The top three. Top two. This one does have it. It's difficult where they bounce back and forth across positions like this on DK. So our top two overall performers actually didn't have both. They were a little bit more balanced. But you can see the abundance of these have both SGA and Giannis. You just get a little bit more spend so that you can book like, multiple KCP, Caruso, Lou Dort, multiple of those low-end performers in there for your value squares. And you're getting a little bit higher end guys for that if you're booking only one of the stars. But I think there's plenty of mid-range value, to get to two of the stars like we're seeing in most of these lineups. Fair amount of Suggs, and we'll probably get a little bit more. Obviously, Anthony is hitting as a value piece and should be. A lot of Goga going through the center spot, but I do like that Hartenstein play. Hartenstein, again, very, very good per minute player for fantasy and just a good NBA player. He's a fantastic rebounder. He's a very good facilitator for a big. In his limited action so far this year, 8 games averaging 29.6 minutes. He's got a 20.5% assist rate and a 20.1% rebounding rate. Hartenstein's just good. Probably going to elevate into the mid-7s on DraftKings in the next couple days. Probably crack 8 on FanDuel in the next couple days. I don't mind that play. FanDuel, just to throw them up on the board for you real quick. That's what they look like. So again, all those Jonathan Isaacs are going to go away. This is going to be very differently shaped on this side of the board. But a lot of it is like Portis, Dallas and Orlando guys over here, SGA, and then fill in the blanks with a lot of Orlando guys. OKC guys landing at small forward, pretty much across the board. That's funny. It is almost like team specific how the positions are falling. We do have plenty of spend at the point on FanDuel. Certainly, SGA and Dame in that one. But yeah, just shape your lineups this way. It's very straightforward as far as pop those guys in. These would be 2 easy guys, or, this group of players, whichever 2 you prefer, would be 2 easy spots to just drop into small forward to start your FanDuel build, and then move pieces around those and just see what fits together. But these are not bad constructions. I actually kind of like some of these, particularly the non-Isaac ones. Like this WCJ, Jalen Williams, Bobby Portis up top. with these two obvious small forward guys. And then I get Suggs, Anthony, mix and match quality, and then SGA and Kyrie. It's not bad. Plenty of room for SGA and Giannis, of course. Even with Isaac coming off the board, there will be plenty. This one's got Kyrie, Suggs, Giannis, and Jalen. I like that. That's a nice construction. Isaac will come out, obviously, but that's not a bad starting point. So if you're spending, I mean, it's almost straightforward on SGA or Giannis on FanDuel. We got some Luka in the top performers, but not as much as we saw in the sim. He'll be in here plenty, as you scroll down through the 150, because we did get him 30% across the 150. But the top performers go the other way. Again, you can be down here just because it's the 150th out of 47,000 lineups that went through the sim doesn't mean it's bad. It was one of the top 150 out of 150,000 iterations of those 47,000 lineups. So they work still from the bottom, but our top performers went the other way. With that, you guys, 6:20. Let me jump off of here. Let me get the site updated. Should just take a moment or two because there's not that many changes to make because there's not that many games today. You guys absolutely rock. Weird couple of days. I was talking about it in Discord the other day. NBA schedule-wise, we had the one game yesterday, which was kind of lame. We have 2 today. We have 2 tomorrow with this NBA Cup stuff. Hawks, Knicks, and Warriors, Rockets tomorrow. Should be a fun day. With 3 games on Thursday, we have a relatively full 8-gamer on Friday. The weekend, just 2 games on Saturday. That's going to be a weird day for me, by the way. Probably our only day all NBA season where I'm going to put the projections up, and then it's going to be kind of on your own, I think, for the news. Just a family event that night. I'm going to my niece's annual performance of the Nutcracker. So I'll be out of pocket that night, but I'll have as much as possible up for you on Saturday, and there's only 2 games to deal with, a 4:30 and an 8:30. God knows they might just go with 2 showdown slates. Sunday is a football slate. Irrelevant, but there are 5 games. Monday's a normal day, 6 games. Then it's the NBA Cup final on Tuesday, so it's just 1 game on Tuesday. Then no games Wednesday of next week. And then we get a massive Thursday slate next week. So it's going to be really weird for the next week or so. But stay tuned. We'll have shows throughout, usual weekday shows for football or for basketball, ongoing content. Andres Jimenez from the Guardians to the Blue Jays. That's a good acquisition. So ongoing content. Check out rotoscouts.com. Under $1 a day to access NBA, NFL, and NHL right now. MLB when that's back in season. Obviously, I've got thoughts about that aplenty. So check out Rotoscouts. Good luck out there tonight, guys. Somebody go win something. Share it when you do. We'll see you tomorrow.